I want to just see if you have things you want to ask about. I know a couple of you have already enrolled in the program, so yay. Welcome, welcome. And I actually be curious to hear about what made you want to join, right? Like, what was it that inspired you and so on? And Federica, who is here, is going to join us as a moderator slash, co-creator assistant in the program also. So she's great. And she also just is going to be studying quantum human design with my mentor, Karen Curry Parker. So congratulations for you for that, for getting that scholarship for that. So yeah, so she's going to have a lot to share as well. And she's been, both really focused on living her design and also using it in her practice and her business. So I think she'll have some really valuable things to share. And I always like it when it's not just me talking, it's always my desire that, we're in this together.
And I'm planning on enrolling, but I just want to be sure, like, I'm fairly new to human design. I've gone down multiple rabbit holes, but, obviously there's a lot of information and some of it's conflicting and, but, of course it's quite, all interesting. So for this course, I am sort of a beginner and, want the information and want to, are there tools to actually hold on to the information also?
I hear you. So your question is tell me if this is accurate or what you want me to address is just you're new, like you're brand new.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of information. And is this going to help you to be able to, apply, digest, integrate, embody all of that, right? Is that right?
Yeah, like what systems are already in the program that are sort of already, there are probably already things that help with that. But just
sure. Yeah, no, it's a great question. And the reason that I have it set up the way that I do is actually to address exactly what you're talking about. Because there's lots of kind of programs that are just content based that you can do in human design, right? And they certainly have value. And then, of course, there's places like my YouTube channel where you can spend a lot of time just binging videos. But I think that when you do anything and that's certainly where I started, right, was, I actually bought a couple of content courses from Raw when I first started, which was kind of a mixed experience. But I realized pretty quickly, it was like, wow, I only can get so much of this by receiving content. And so what I do in this program is there's a workbook. So I've upgraded the worksheets from what you're used to, Federica, created a workbook. And so with every lesson, there's a section in the workbook that ask you questions and that guide you through applying. So like, for example, there's 2 different lessons on the centers, because there's a lot of centers, there's 9 of them, right? And so there's one lesson that's on the 4 motors. And then there's another lesson that's on the non-motor centers. And so for each of those, you're kind of led through, what do you have? Do you have, is it defined? Is it open? Here are the kind of the strengths and the challenges that's in the lesson, right? So it says, tell us what you understand to be the strengths and the challenges. And then what's your experience with this? Let's say you have an open G. What's your experience of having an open G related to what you heard in the lesson? Because you may have heard me say this before, I consider myself the expert on human design, and you're the expert on you. So we get to co-create in that way, right? Is I get to kind of share what we say in human design, traditional human design and quantum human design. And then you get to be like, okay, well, how does that apply to me? Does that resonate for me or not? Because there are things that are commonly said in human design that I frankly don't resonate with. And that's okay. And that's okay for you too. So it's really a co-creative process, right? It's not, I do not teach it in a deterministic way. Like, if you've got this, you're this way. Like, I don't teach it that way because it's not my experience, either personally or having, taught and done lots of readings at this point. So that's why the course is really set up to, to give you content and then say, okay, what do you make of that? What's true for you? Like, what do you have in your design? And based on what you heard, does that sound familiar? Does it open up something for you that you hadn't really thought about before? Or known, or does it just affirm something that you kind of suspected, but you weren't, like this happens with intuition a lot, right? When I talk to people about intuition, and they're like, well, yeah, I kind of knew I was intuitive, but I didn't trust it, or, like that, right? Happens with our strategy and our authority a lot, but other aspects as well. So then the live sessions are about really coming together and workshopping based on different topics that we're going to cover in the course. So we may come in and say, okay, today we're going to talk about the four motors. Let's pay attention to what that is, have a little summary, maybe give you some time to go and work on your questions if you haven't already, or to review them and think a little bit more, and then start to dialogue about it, talk about it. And see what you all come up with, right? And you get to share your frustrations and your resistances, as well as your celebrations or ahas, right? It's just because, I've been teaching a long time, and my experience is that, things don't really matter, and they certainly don't transform your life until you make it real for you. Otherwise it's just interesting information. And a lot of people stop with human design at the level of interesting information. I've talked to a bunch of them who are like, oh yeah, I heard about human design whenever I got my chart. Somebody told me I was a projector. I even got a printout. I read it. I didn't know what it meant. Kind of looked cool. Okay. And then I walked away. Like, there's lots of people who are like that, right? And that's fine. If that's what people want to do, like, I'm not judging that, but I'm just saying that's not going to transform your life. Probably, right? And when it stays at the level of just interesting information, you probably will walk away. You probably won't stick with, why would you bother to stick with it, right? If it wasn't actually meaningful in how you're experiencing your life. So does that answer your question, Raquel?
Yes.
Yeah. 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 No, it's a really important one. And I'm really dedicated to people using human design as a tool for their evolutionary experience.
Yeah. And that's my interest in it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yay. I'm glad you'll join us, Raquel. Yeah. Lori? Yeah.
Hey, hi. Nice to talk to you, Maggie.
Yeah, so great to talk to you too.
That person you just talked about was me, like 3 weeks ago. Because I retired in 2019, and I call it being catapulted off the hamster wheel of life. In 2019, I had a 30-year career in real estate, blah, blah, blah. And so then all of a sudden, now what do I do with myself? I had to find a new identity, and then the pandemic happened, and then it's like, oh, I have a lot of interior work to do here. So anyway, I've been going down a lot of rabbit holes in the last 3 years, and I somehow got on the Jovian archive news feed. Mm-hmm. And so I've been getting their newsletters like all along. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, whatever. And went down the other rabbit holes. And I don't know, it's all about divine timing, Maggie. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, after I've done all this other work, which I had a lot of work to do, right? After, spending 60 years on the planet, I had a lot of work to do. For for some reason, it reached out to me this time when I saw, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to go. The first place I go is on YouTube when I want more information on something. So I'm on YouTube late one night, and your face pops up, and then I binge watched most of your videos in one night, and it's like, whoa, this is so cool. This is really speaking to me. And so then when I got your sales page for your course, I started crying because it's like, this is the missing piece. This really, I feel, is the missing piece. And also, I wanted to share with you, I do want to do this to help others too. I have like 3 other certifications, and it's going to fit perfectly in with my other healing modalities that I have in my toolbox. I feel this is really the concrete missing piece that I need to really get to the root cause, right? Of what people are, myself, starting with myself. This is going to help with my root cause of what's my blockage to go forward with my desires on this. And so that's my first step, right? Is to figure out where my blockages are. So anyway, I'm really excited about it. But when you mentioned Federica is doing human design with Karen, so she's offering a really good deal on her certification course right now. And you joked in one of your videos that you need an affiliate link, and I think it's true. You better talk to her about an affiliate link like today.
I have an affiliate link. I just haven't put it out there. But yeah,
well,
I
could
do.
you
I need to set
maybe
it up.
private message me your affiliate link, and I'll, because
Okay.
Or do you think it would be too overwhelming to do that certification level 1 to 4 right now when I'm just starting?
The whole thing? Well, that's a couple of years. That's 2-3 years worth of study right there. Because level 3 is almost a year and level 4 is a year. So just know that. Levels 1 and 2 are type, strategy, and authority and centers. So those are not so in depth, but level 3 is all of the circuits, channels, and gates, right? So, there's 3 major circuits, 36 channels, 64 gates. It's a huge course. And then level 4 is how do you put it all together? And I think and both of those I think are 9 months long. So I'm not saying you shouldn't invest in it, just know what you're getting into. And it's a professional level certification program. And it's awesome. Karen's awesome. She's my mentor.
She is. But if we don't, okay. So my other question was, okay, your course I know is going to be awesome too. And you said in your video that we could offer human design readings once we finish your course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to have Federica speak to this a little bit because she's been doing it. Absolutely. I just am not saying that this is like the level of what Karen's offering, because it's not.
No, I know. Yeah.
Right. It's not. I mean, that's a professional level certification program where you can go and say, I'm certified level 4 specialist, right, with one of the, leading people in human design. So it's actually not my aspiration to do that, because I'm going to build out feminine sovereignty as my core, really my body of work, and it includes human design. But I think if people really want to be a specialist and the difference that I would say, Lori, is if you want to make human design like your shingle, that's the thing that's how you're showing up in the world, is as a human design expert. Like that's your thing. But like with Federica, she's a mindfulness teacher and a spiritual counselor. So human design fits inside of her, the work that she's already been doing for quite a while, right? So she can say, well, I include human design in what I do, but she's not saying I'm a human design specialist, although she can do that certified level 1 and 2 after she does that.
Oh, I see.
Does that distinction make sense, Lori?
Okay, thank you, Maggie.
Because not everybody wants to go and do like a 3 to 4 year training and spend however much, $10,000 or whatever it is now. I know she's given a really good deal, but I'm just saying not everybody wants to do that, right? But they're really attracted to human design. They want to be able to use it with people, right? And so that's where I think this fits. And with people who just want to do it for their own edification and their own personal growth.
Oh, awesome. Okay. What would we call ourselves then? Or maybe Federica can talk about this. What would we call ourselves if we added that to our toolbox as part of our total offerings?
You know what I could provide if people wanted this, and Federica, I could offer this to you too, is not a certification, but a certificate.
Oh, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome, Maggie.
Like, and I'll have to see what I want to call it.
Okay.
Right. But I could offer you so if I'm going to do that, then I kind of have to think about what you have to do in order to get that. Because I'm basically saying, I am saying you completed this course of study, right? And so like I've had people who've enrolled in this class who never showed up for anything live ever. I wouldn't want to give a certificate to that person because I have zero understanding about how much they understand about human design, right? I have no idea, right?
Yes.
And so in order to do that, Lori, let me just think about that a little bit more. And also Federica and I might be able to put our heads together a little bit to think about like, you know, like how many of those live sessions would you need to attend? And maybe you would turn in some of the workbook stuff, you know, stuff like that, right? So that I can at least kind of have some way of tracking, like, what have you done, right? And maybe do an interview, or maybe you record a little reading or something. I don't know. Let me just think about it. But I'm open to doing that because I do feel like this program fits a particular need of a particular kind of person, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe, anyway, so that.
Okay, I appreciate that, Maggie. Maybe you have a whole new, I think that's cool just to get a certificate. And like you say, there's got to be a checklist of what you complete to get that certificate.
You do. If I'm going to do something like that, right? I mean, you know, when you do certifications, like you have tests and, you know, whatever, right? And so, and like, I don't necessarily want this to be like that, but I do think it is robust enough, particularly for the person like Federica, who really took it on and is using it in her life and in her practice, that, you know, and Lori, it sounds like that's something you want to do where it could be useful for you.
Okay, that's awesome, Maggie. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks for asking.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you about it in person.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're all, like, for me, we're all developing stuff, right? And we're all developing. And that's why I'm saying it's also co-creative. I love it when people say to me, well, how about this? And I go, how about that? Right? Because I also want to provide what people want. Right?
That's kind of where I was struggling. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Maggie.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yay. So Federica, could you just maybe say a few words about your experience and what it's been like, you know, to do the program and how it's influenced, you know, both you and also in your practice, so that we can get a little bit of a sense of that?
Okay, I will try, and I hope I'm enough clear, because English is not my mother language. I am Italian. Right now I am in Tuscany in Italy. And
your English is just fine.
Yeah, I know, but
your English is just fine.
You know, it's, I mean, if I would explain this in Italian, of course, I would be different, but okay, I will do my best. Anyway, I think I have done a course before, Maggie, I live in your design with an Italian, probably the best Italian teacher. When I start, so he did my lecture, readings, and so it's really good one. But as soon as I met on YouTube Maggie, I really felt that there was something more. I really felt that Maggie, I resonate very much with her, and then I start listen to her almost all. I think the last year, I think I heard
a lot of videos.
Yes. So and then I follow Activate Your Superpower, but till this moment I didn't. I mean, everything was really on my mind, and just information. not something that I was, yes, that's what you were telling before is exactly this. So it was just on my mind, just information, and is a really good one, this teacher. So I'm very grateful for this teacher, but is a projector, is really incredible, good teacher. But what I really liked in this is to bring all this information in life. So in everyday life. So I was I start really with during this course. I start to apply all those information in everyday life with my family, with my client. So, and I start to practice with my sacral, because I am 1-3 time better and manifesting generator. So I'm very curious, but at the same time, I start really to practice with the sacral, because all my life I spend here. I have a mind and ajna defined. Everything is defined in my chart, apart root and solar plexus. So I'm really defined, let's say. But I had some troubles with my root. I have some trouble with my solar plexus. And then I start to listen to my sacral. And this was the aha moment of my life, let's say, because I said, okay. So since that, my life has changed a lot. And also my work changed a lot, because I really transmit all this to my clients. And I don't talk about, yes, Lori, when you were talking about before so I'm not talking about too much about gates or stuff like this. I'm just talking about the basic things, but the important things, like the authority, the strategy, the profile, I don't feel, I could, because I have some information, but I don't think that is important in being a mindfulness counselor and working with the quality of the heart. I don't need, let's say, because I want to create fundamental, very fundamental, can you say, a base, very strong base. So, and I apply a scholarship and I got it. But at the same time, this already was enough for me. What I have done with Maggie and what I'm doing with Maggie, it's already enough for my work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what I often say to people who already work with clients or students or, is just type strategy and authority can transform somebody's life pretty profoundly. Yeah. And it is the foundation that we all need to practice in order to unlock the rest of the chart. Because the other thing that happens to people who get really interested in information is they skip over type strategy and authority, and they start like getting really interested in gates. And it's like, you can't even get to your gates if you don't have your strategy and your authority down. It's like, it's interesting information, but you're not going to be able to unlock the full power of what it can give you unless you have that foundation, which is what you're saying, Federica, right? And so, and the thing is unless some people are coming to you actually for human design, you start talking to them about gates and channels, their eyes are just going to glaze over, right? They're going to be like, what is she talking about? And this is one of the things that happens for people when they get super interested in something. They get really excited. They're, oh, let me tell you about this. And the person is like, I'm really glad you're excited, but can you back off, please?
Yes.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. When we work with clients, we're like going, okay, what does this person need now?
Yes.
It's not like I'm going to do a brain dump on them. You got to watch out for that. As you guys are learning, you got to watch out for that. Don't
Yeah.
subject your friends to that. Come and do that with us.
Yes, please.
Right? Yeah. Do you want to say anything else about it?
Yes, I would like to add another thing, and another important thing I learned with you was all the generative questions. These are really, for me, those learning how to connect to a superpower, another superpower, was really the another haha moment, because this is I start to trust something else than and feel co-creative, as you said. Before, I was thinking I was alone in a way, even if I come from I am a practitioner of Tibetan Mahayana Buddhism for 20 years. So, but it's something different. It's really brought me a different trust. It's I'm very grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I think that's one of the things that really caught my attention and made me really want to dive into and then also offer human design, is that it gives you a really practical kind of step-by-step way to actually connect with spirit.
Yeah.
It's not just sitting and meditating or praying or whatever, right? It's actually gives you, it's like, oh, you can connect in this way. You can connect in this way. You can connect in this way. And it's like, wow. So I think that's really cool. Do any of you have a question for Federica? Specifically for her?
I just have a quick question. Do you think as part of the course, you'll speak to how you work with, how you use the human design with clients?
Just about to ask the same question.
Okay, so I ask generally. I ask because at the beginning I even didn't know if it was ethical to ask for the date and then check in their design in the map, in the chart, if it was because I was not I was not a professional, so I was like can I do it? Okay, but then I ask if they want to go. I do two kinds of now, since I took the course, I do two kinds of journey with the client. I'm not a psychotherapist, because in Italy counseling is different. I don't know in America, but in Italy counseling is, I did 6 years anyway of study, but it's different to be psychotherapist. So and I am also meditation teacher, but I ask them if they want to do a normal let's say mindfulness counseling, or if they want to add a journey in human design, in quantum human design, in, let's say, what I have learned, because I always say that I have some instruments, some tools that they can help and in going quicker, let's say. And they are all of them, of course, they want to try this. And so I ask them the date and I check before. So when they come, I already know a little bit about them. And I also ask what are the troubles in this moment of their life, and see immediately. I just check a little bit and see. And then I really work with the questions a lot, with the questions and with the sacral, but I really work a lot with the questions. That during this course, we work a lot with questions.
I also think she's asking, Federica, tell me, Raquel, if this is correct.
sorry.
I don't want to like mansplain you or anything. But womansplain you. Do we say that? I don't know. But I think she was also asking if you would be available during the course
sorry.
for questions about that in a kind of ongoing way. Is that true, Raquel? Is that what you were asking? That was what I thought you.
Oh yes, both. Yeah,
Oh,
both.
sorry.
Thank you for the no,
it's
don't,
fine. Yeah,
no, that was perfect. And we'll just ask you again.
yeah, great. Because as we go along, it's kind of like you don't even know what to ask now, probably, right? But as you go along, something might come up. And so are you willing to be available for that?
Of course. Yes, with pleasure. Sorry, I misunderstood, but I think
it's okay.
very
No, it's
useful
okay.
No, the information you
to
gave
know.
is also really relevant. Thank you.
Yeah. I was very intrigued, Federica. Thank you for that, as well as about how you apply it with your clients. You know, like you said, the practicality of it, what it looks like. I was very interested in finding out how you did it, and you've explained it very well. But I was just wondering, you did say something about you always look at their chart before you meet with the client, and then you get to know a little bit more about them. So does that mean that you have to be, to a certain degree, you have to be aware of the gates and things like that? Because what exactly, when you look at their chart, is it just looking at the centers? Is that what you're focusing on, and the strategy and authority, or are you actually looking at the gates as it applies to the individual and some of the questions that may have come up?
Okay, if I understood correctly this time, I honestly, of course, as much as now more I know, of course, more I have information just looking at the chart, but I don't focus too much in this, in gates, and I focus on their type. I focus on their authority, as Maggie told, actually said, focus on this. So authority, strategy, type, and I see where is openness, but openness also sometimes doesn't, I mean, and I always say, I always say, like Maggie said, I am the expert. I'm starting to be the expert, but then the person is an expert of themselves. So, and I can see immediately, like this morning, a girl came, and there was yesterday. I saw her draw, and she's a manifesting generator 1-4, and emotional. So she was talking about all this emotion that, of course, once you know a little bit, you can help how to treat with emotion. And until the course, before the course, I looked at emotion in completely in another way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. No, I understand what you mean. Thank you for that, for explaining. But I do have another question, Maggie. This one's for you. With regards to what Federica has just said. So if a person wanted to, as Laurie asked earlier, wanted to say maybe even do sort of like readings of the charts, like you do readings, what level of expertise would you need to have? Would that then mean that you would have to do a professional course like Karen offers, as opposed to this? Because this is more focused on us as individuals and doing the shadow work and, the spiritual, all that stuff. So is that what you would advise then?
Well, so different people have different opinions about this.
Right.
Okay. And I do know people who do readings who haven't done a professional level training program. I don't personally support that. If you're going to go out and if you're going to charge a really low rate, that's one thing. But if you're going to charge what a professional reading is worth, I think you should have the training. right? So, but, you know, human design is not a regulated industry,
Mm.
right? And I hope it doesn't become regulated because I don't like regulation. So, you know, at a certain point, it's it's kind of up to the individual and how they feel about it. And yeah, I think that's what I would say. And I actually think if, you know, you're kind of interested in doing the professional level training program, but either it's not the right time or you're not 100% sure, I think doing a program like this first, it's a tiny fraction of the cost, for one thing. And it'll get you a good, strong foundation and give you a good amount of time to really kind of be getting it kind of into your cells, you know? And honestly, Karen doesn't even offer, like even her professional level training program, she doesn't offer the kind of workshopping that I do.
Mm.
She doesn't, it's different unless she's changed it.
Okay.
You know, and so I would say that the professional level training is heavily focused on information. Heavily focused on information. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't transform yourself if you take that information and apply it to yourself. But that's not its primary focus. The focus is the information.
Right. Okay.
Which to me kind of makes sense as a professional level training program, right? It's like, and it's a lot of information. I just like, it's a lot. You know, like level 3 is massive. I did it twice because I did it first with traditional human design, and then I did it when she came out with quantum human design. So I did it twice. And it's a lot. So I just feel like this is a super high value for what you get, especially for what, because I'm gonna like double the price. So you guys are getting in at a good time because it's going to go up to $997. And I just think it's much more hands-on.
Right. No, that answers. I mean, it's good. I think this is certainly, like you said, a very good foundational program. It's a good start, especially for really getting to work on oneself and really knowing how to apply it. You know, like I said, practice. And then once we're able to do that a lot more and with more confidence as well. And I suppose it's easier then, even if we're doing self-study until one decides to go and do the professional level course, like you said, because it does take time, that can be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had a number of people who've done my program and gone on to do professional level certification. I have.
Yeah.
You know, and I think one of the things it can help you do, especially depending on kind of how much experience you have with human design, is it can help you decide if you want to do more.
Right, exactly.
Right. Because it'll give you time to be like, okay, how much do I like this? How much am I engaged in it? Am I getting really excited about it? Do I really want to engage with it? Do I really want to talk to people about it a lot? Yeah. Right. Or am I kind of like, yeah, this is interesting. Okay. Yeah, it feels good, you know, but, you know, I don't really want to go and dedicate 3 years of my life to it. Right. And so it can help you make that distinction. The other thing that I really believe, and I don't think Karen would disagree with this, but her program isn't set up this way, is I think we have to do this on ourselves really deeply first in order to really be able to serve other people.
Yeah.
Like I really believe that about any modality that you're in. And there's too many people who go in, I'm not necessarily talking about Karen's program, I'm just talking about in general. People go and learn all the information, and then they turn around and they use that information with other people, but they actually haven't taken and applied and digested and integrated and embodied the information. It's still all up here. Kind of like what you were saying, Federica, you did that other program, but it was still kind of all up here, right? And to me, that's just not how true education and true evolutionary process works. It's just not. So I don't support that.
No,
That's what I call my BFO, my big fat opinion.
Yeah. I would like
But lots of
that.
people have different opinions. So
thank you.
you have to go, Federica, or do you want to say
No,
something?
No. I would like to say something else that is, I think, is very important not to forget. That the coaching part is unbelievable, helpful. I mean, this is we cannot find in other courses. I don't think so. I mean, it's really like you have material to study and to do on yourself, but then you have this time. I don't know. I think you are going to do also this call. Yes. So, and be together. Like everybody does mirror to you, you know, and then once someone asks something, then Maggie answer, and maybe this question is also regarding you. So it's really the coaching session, I think it's really incredible helping in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just to respond to Federico, what you're saying is my plan at this point, and again, this is a co-creation with those of us who are in the program, so I always like to say that. But my sense after the cohort that you were with, Federica, was I felt that participants would benefit from a little bit more focused workshopping, going into topics a little in a more focused, structured way.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not want that to replace having time for questions and coaching. So my intention is to have time for all of it.
Yeah, perfect.
Absolutely.
Great.
Especially as we move through, because you know, at a certain, you know, at the beginning, you kind of just need to get some of this stuff under your belt. You know what I mean? You just need to get some of that information going. You have to practice. You have to start engaging in it in your life, right? And then the blocks come up, or the resistances come up, or, you know, the places where you're like, I just don't understand that. It's like, okay, that's like, right? Or I don't, there's part of me that just, you know, which happens. I mean, it happens, right? But that's also where the magic comes in, right? Because we get to meet our internal walls, right? The boxes we put ourselves in, you know, and the culture has put us in, right? And we get to run into that and go, it was like when I first learned I was a generator and I was told I wasn't designed to initiate, it was like, well, that's BS. Obviously not true, right? And then I walked away. I was one of those people. I walked away from human design for like 4 years until my life had fallen apart again. And I was like, maybe there's something to that. You know, I should give it a try. Nothing else seems to be working, you know, but I had to, right? And I didn't have anybody. The coach I had at the time recommended that I go check it out, but she wasn't a human design person. And she didn't say this, you should go study with this person. You know, I think this could really help you with X, Y, and Z. It was just kind of like, hey, I heard about this human design thing. You know, you might want to check it out. Like it was like that. Right. And that's the thing is when you don't have the support to understand what it's actually offering you, sometimes it's hard to get it because you're like going, I'm designed to respond. I'm designed to wait for the invitation. What? My sacral authority? What? And self-projected authority? What? Right? It's like, how do you even know what any of that means? All right. All right. Well, we have just a few more minutes. Any other things you want to talk about? Leslie, was there anything else besides the time or date? Yeah.
No, this is all great. I watched the your video that you put out about it, so I feel pretty grounded in what to expect. And then I think there's a lot of it I don't know what to expect, but it sounds right on.
Yeah. Great. Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. Well, you know, of course you don't know what to expect. How could you? Frankly, I'm not 100% sure what to expect. You know, my dad was a teacher for probably close to 50 years. He was an English professor. And he, I know early in his career, he was kind of structured. I mean, that was how he was trained, was to do kind of structured stuff. And then he got to a certain point where he said, you know what, when I go to class, all I have is a place to begin. And then we see where it goes. Because he didn't lecture anyway. He wasn't a lecturer kind of a guy, you know, and he always he demanded that his students interact and that they participate and stuff, which some college students are like deer in headlights, you know, you want me to talk? You want me to think? Oh God. And my dad was really powerful about that. But I really walked away with that. It's like, yeah, have a place to start and maybe have a couple of things you want to make sure that you get to before the end, right? But inside of that, like, because that's where, like, you know, the flow of life has an opportunity to come in and participate with us, right? And I have the gate 12 on an open throat, which means I'm a channel. So I like that because this part of me can only come up with so much, right? And I don't want this part to dominate. So it helps to structure and like that, but then you open it up and see what happens. I mean, in Federica's cohort, I mean, sometimes we would go off on just topics that were just, you know, because somebody brought something up and they, you know, and I was like, okay, let's go that way. I would never have anticipated or planned to talk about that. So I do still want to make sure that we have space for that as well, right? And not be rigid about, you know, we have to do it like this. But that's also why we have 6 months, because then we have enough time for things like that to happen. And what I love about having the community now is that there's a chat feature in there. You all can post in there. You can post photos, you can post videos, you can just write whatever you want to write. You can comment on each other's stuff so that I don't have to be the hub of the wheel, right? We can create it. I mean, I'm always going to be kind of the teacher, right? Whatever, but it gets to be more horizontal, right? So that you all get to interact with each other as well. And to me, that's really when things like take off and penetrate, right? Because I don't know everything, and you know, I'm sure you're all smart and have a lot of good things to contribute. I'm happy to learn from you. I mean, I'm already learning from what some people are posting in the community. I'm hoping there'll be more of that because I'm like, wow, I never thought about that. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Right? Yeah. So I think we have a big up level with having the community. And I really urge you to take advantage of it. You know, don't hang back and wait for somebody else.
Maggie, one final question I had. So it's really another study of how energy flows through the body and what we can do to get rid of the energy blockages. Is that correct in human design?
So the way that I talk about this is that human design is a template for an evolving humanity, individually and collectively. So it's not just like the meridian system in Chinese medicine, but it's more like that or like the chakra system than it is like Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram. Because it is an energy system, not a personality system. There are personality implications, but it's not a personality system. Because we'll say, for example, type is your role in the world. Profile is more like your character. But it's not your personality, because your personality in the end is how you live your life in relation to your design and the choices that you've made along the way. Human design can help point us to the types of things that are in our way, which Ra would call the not self, right? And he always focused on the openness as being the location for the not self, which I don't agree with. because you're conditioned in every part of your design. We are. The question is are we conditioned in a more empowered way, or a more shadow way, or more disempowered way? Because you can be, I mean, I've met lots of people who have a defined will center who still have terrible self-worth, and it's a center for self-worth, and it being defined, right? Yeah. Doesn't mean that you have the higher empowered aspect of that definition. So that's why we have to be really, and that's a kind of traditional human design thing, is to say, oh, all your conditioning is in your openness. It's just not, Plus, you can have positive conditioning in your openness. Like I have positive conditioning in my open throat now, but I had negative before because I didn't know what it was and I didn't know how to use it. But now I do. So what human design does not provide are tools for changing your energy and for releasing the blocks that you have. It doesn't have that. That's why I talk about energy hygiene, and why I offer like the Kundalini yoga practices that I have, which I will continue to do. And I will encourage all of you to go and partake of the ones that are in the community, because I'm going to keep doing some of those in the community. I'm going to encourage you to do that. And if you guys are at one point, you're like, you know what, can you just do like can we do one whole of our live sessions on energy management, working with blocks and so on? We can do that. But the coaching is also the place, and I think Federica can confirm this, where we work with that. And I'm a big believer that you can't just talk yourself through your blocks. You can become more aware, right? Which is a lot of times what therapy helps us do, right? We start to understand our story. We start to go, oh, gosh, yeah, I have this trauma from this. And so that's why I'm like this and so on, right? And it can, just becoming aware can help you unwind it. But my experience from many years as a clarity breathwork practitioner and working with energy, and now a radiant body yoga teacher, is that you have to move the energy. Like just becoming aware it's necessary and insufficient, right? You have to become aware to some degree, but it's not enough to truly liberate you. But what human design can do is it can help you go, oh, like when I learned about my open throat, it's like, oh, that's why I blurt things out at the weirdest times. And it's embarrassing, right? Plus I have the gate of provocation. So I'd be like, it would be provocative, right? Or shocking, because I have the 51. It's like, I didn't know any of that. And I'd come around somebody who would define my throat and wah. But when I learned that, I went, oh, okay. So now what do I do? For one thing, I slow down and pause and really try to hold on to the energy of my throat when it wants to do that. And I don't always do it. Sometimes it still pops out, but I'm so much better about it than I used to be. So that's how I think that it can point to certain things. But, if you've got like negative self-concept, negative self-talk, your 10 is in the blame, or your worthiness is in question, or you have an open emotional solar plexus, so you've picked up and amplified all these other people's emotions, and you're kind of like I have an open emotional solar plexus, right? I mean, no wonder I became a clarity breath worker. I had to learn how to deal with my emotions, and how to clear out all these other people's emotions, particularly my mother's anger that I'd had for years, which I didn't even know, right? And then I went, oh. So I think it gives us a lot of signposts, but it does not tell us how to decondition. Which is why Karen, in her quantum alignment system, not the human design, but in that, she uses EFT and essential oils, right? So that's her kind of comprehensive system, right? My analogy to that would be with Kundalini yoga, right? With yoga, energy practices, breath practices in particular, right? And I think we all need something else that helps us, right? That because human design on its own doesn't do that. Does that make sense, Lori?
That was a beautiful answer, Maggie. That's totally how I feel too. It's about how to move our energy. but if we can get more awareness of our blueprint, I call it, I like to have a blueprint, get more awareness of our blueprint, that's 95% of it.
Well, I don't know if it's
Or,
90,
I mean,
but it's a big.
I mean,
piece.
it's a good start. It's a
big piece. It is
a huge start. Yeah.
It's a big piece because it also helps us to come to accept and appreciate and even love parts of ourselves that we thought, like my individual circuitry, like, I sent this in an email, and, I used to think I had all these character flaws. I'm like, why can't I fit in anywhere? I'm pretty good at creating community around me, like, which also has to do with my centering circuit. Who knew? But all that individual circuitry, like, I just want to do things my own way. I just want to do my own thing. I just want to, create my own thing, And I used to be like, why am I like that? Why can't I just, I had this programming about how I should be. Right. And then when I realized that about my individual circuitry, I was like, of course, that's how I'm designed. Let me actually lean all the way in instead of trying to make myself be different. So I think that's one of the things it can do, where you go, oh, I'm just designed that way.
Well, the operative word all day you used was decondition, Maggie. Decondition, because I mean, that's it right there. It's like the labels that we were placed on ourselves by family or friends or whoever, and then that's what we carry through.
Yeah, so and culture. I mean, culture is huge. Yeah. Right? Culture, history, ancestry. I mean, I'm a historicist by training, so I always have a historical lens on stuff too, right? And to realize, here we are, all women. We've got 2 women of color with us. Those social designations, if you will, influence us deeply in different ways, right? And so coming to also be like, oh, okay. So, I mean, that's the other thing about being individual circuitry. Like, as a woman, with a lot of intensity, it's like, God, I got made wrong for that a lot, right? And now I'm like, screw it. I don't care. Individual circuitry is designed not to care. So I'm like, okay. I mean, being in my 60s also helps, because when you're younger, it's harder sometimes. But, yeah.
Well, thank you, Maggie and Federica, for this opportunity today to talk things out. It was really helpful for me. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much.
Ola, do you have one more question or
Just
comment?
Sorry, I was just going to ask about the reading. Is that something we do within the group, or is it done individually? The reading bonus that you have.
It's a one-on-one.
Okay.
And my recommendation is that you wait until at least like the 3rd to 4th month in, because I had people who came in last time I opened this up, and there were like a few of them who wanted their reading right away. And I was like, okay, if you really want it. But then one of them, like, towards the end of the course, he was like, oh gosh, I wish I'd waited until now. I was like, I tried to tell you. So that's kind of how I hold it. I just think you'll get a lot more out of it, because you'll just know, because otherwise what happens, especially when it's newer to you, is you come in and I tell you really basic things that you'll learn in the course, and you don't need my reading for that, because you'll get it. Right. But once you get a bunch of that, then you can be like, oh, there's this piece about my design I don't understand, or I'm really kind of stuck about this part. Can you help me with that? Right. And then you get a lot more out of your reading. Does that make sense? So that's my recommendation, is you just wait until, we're a few months in.
Okay.
Because I just think you'll get more out of it.
Okay. And then if we wanted to have, say, more of an expanded reading, are we able to do that, or
you just register for it? Yeah. I mean, it's a separate investment.
Right.
But of course you can do that. I mean, actually, Raquel's already done a reading with me. So yeah. Okay. Absolutely. No, I'm happy to do that. And, if you wanted to, Ola, you could do that kind of towards the beginning to get some, and then do the program and then follow up with that,
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because what you get in a reading is different than what you get. These are all kind of just different ways of slicing it and looking at it and seeing, So it's totally up to you, but yeah, absolutely. All you have to do is register. We'd be happy
Okay.
to do that. Yeah.
All right, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, my dears. Well, if you have any other questions, do not hesitate to message me in the community or shoot me an email. And I'll see you next week for sure. Okay. Okay. Bye.